Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Austin Petersen, presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party. Today, my message specifically is to Glenn Beck. And usually I like to chat to my Facebook audience, but today specifically, I would like to speak to conservative leader Glenn Beck because I think that Glenn Beck, out of all of the people who are opposed to the problem that we have right now, which I think is Donald Trump, Glenn Beck understands the type of problem that we face. And I read this morning that Glenn Beck has been attacking Donald Trump more frequently, and many of the people in Glenn Beck's base have been rebelling against him. And I think that this shows a little bit about the problem that we have with populism in the United States. Because Glenn, like yourself, I was there in 2009 and 2010. Actually, I've been there for much longer, but helping to stir up the Tea Party sentiment in order to advance the principles of limited government that we both hold dear. But this morning, when I saw that you had posted, Glenn, that it was a quote by Friedrich Hayek, and I want to read this right now for my audience so everyone knows what I'm talking about here, because this is very important that we understand the challenges that we have as libertarians and conservatives in opposing the Donald Trump phenomenon. And you said, Glenn, let's start our day with a bit of Hayek. Hitler did not have to destroy democracy. He merely took advantage of the decay of democracy, and at the critical moment obtained the support of many to whom, though they detested Hitler, he yet seemed the only man strong enough to get things done. This is Hayek from The Road to Serfdom. Now, Fred Wilson, who was a commenter, said, oh, his snore. He says this is another day of 24/7 Trump bashing by Glenn Beck. He says you've wasted so much time and energy to do anything positive. And he's saying, oh, he's concerned that Glenn Beck has lost his mind. Well, for the first time ever, Glenn, not the first time ever, but one of the most recent times, it sounds as if you have gone completely sane. Now, I'm just teasing, buddy. I've always liked you, and as we spent a little bit of time together when I was at Fox and you were on Fox News. I was there at the time right before you left. And we actually met several times at Tea Party rallies, and I also came to visit you when I worked at FreedomWorks alongside our friend Matt Kibbe. And you might not remember me, of course, Glenn, but I remember, of course, our discussion about the concerns that you had about the future of our country. Now, I understand that you have endorsed Ted Cruz, and so you have to take it with a grain of salt what I say, considering that I am a presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party. Now, my concern, of course, is the same as yours, that we will be faced with a Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton matchup. And if that's the case, Glenn, and if Ted Cruz is not at the top of the ticket or is not even the VP, then we should consider what our alternative plan should be. And my proposal will be this. I believe that it is time that libertarians and conservatives, populist conservatives, as well as National Review conservatives, form an alliance outside of the two major parties, and we build a movement that will be able to actually have a credible chance of beating both Trump and Hillary Clinton. Now, I will be on John Stossel's show next week alongside Rich Lowry, the editor of the National Review, which you, Glenn Beck, wrote an op-ed in recently about how you were against Trump. And please understand, I do believe that you are sincere in your endorsement of Ted Cruz. And while Ted Cruz is, to my mind, not the ideal libertarian, or else I wouldn't be running against him, of course, I still think he's much better than the other crop of candidates, other than perhaps, say, Rand Paul, which, while I do like Rand, I just don't believe that he has a chance to win the nomination of his party. Now, this leads to what my plans are. I believe that if Donald Trump is the nominee of the Republican Party, Glenn, that we can work together to build something new, something outside of the establishment, with some of of course, the establishment support, the people in the National Review, which, you know, if you wrote a piece for them over at the National Review against Donald Trump, you must not be on too bad of terms with them. But we can do something, Glenn. We can do something wonderful and new and exciting, and we can have a future for liberty. Now listen, I know that libertarians have not treated you well in the past, Glenn, and I understand that this is coming from someone that you don't know very well, and you might be concerned because you've heard perhaps that I'm not a person of faith such as yourself. But as a skeptical agnostic, I very much come from that same school of thought as Penn Jillette, who I know you've had on your shows multiple times. And I know that you like him and you trust him because libertarians don't want to get the government involved in your religious faith as well, or to legislate religion. Now, these are all surface level topics. And we are going to have a conversation one-on-one, just yourself and myself. If you would like to do that privately, that's perfectly fine. If you would like to do it in public, if you would like to have me on your show, I would be sincerely grateful for that opportunity. And I believe that if I am the leader of the Libertarian Party at the convention in 2016, this year in May, if I win the nomination of my party, then I will be able to provide a credible alternative to Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. And I am beseeching you now, Glenn, to reach out to us and to talk to me and my libertarian supporters, and let's reignite the fires that we had in 2009 and 10. Let's reignite that Tea Party movement and reinstill the values that it was founded on, which was fiscal conservancy, which was limited government. I believe that the Tea Party went off the rails when the establishment took it over, and two, the nativist populism became rampant. And that is why Donald Trump is winning, because the populist movement that yourself and myself, the libertarians and the conservatives brought up has gone off the rails. And we always knew that that would be a danger, Glenn. So I'm asking you now that I understand if you've endorsed Ted Cruz, but if something happens with your preferred candidate, that in the meantime, for now, that you would reach out and that we can start talking about what our contingency plans will be. Now, back to my followers, of course. Thank you very much for listening. I know that you guys, some of you might not be the biggest Glenn Beck fans, and I listen to your criticisms and I share some of them, but I think it's important for us to have a big tent, ladies and gentlemen. So what I'm going to ask you to do right now is to set the past beside us. It's time for us to look for the future. This is why I'm running for president right now, even though I'm just turning 35 next month, because I'm concerned about the future. And my concern is that all the old men and women who are running for president of the United States, they don't have to care about the future right now because they won't be a part of it. To them, the right here and now is all that matters. And I would like to build a generational movement. So I am beseeching my supporters, my Facebook fans, and my friends in liberty to put the old wounds aside. It's time for us to look to the future and to try and build new coalitions. So I appreciate the faith and the trust that you all have in me and my supporters, and I'm very happy for you. And also, I want to ask you, like a good politician, to please send money to help me get on my national tour. We're going to need some gas money. I will be in Florida starting on the 18th, the day before my birthday, and I will be crisscrossing the southeastern United States in the run-up to the National Convention for the Libertarian Party. So do me a favor, send me $50 or $100 or even $200 or $500 if you can to help me take over the government and leave everyone alone. Thanks very much for being a follower and a supporter, and do me a favor, don't forget, go and post this video on Glenn Beck's page and ask him if he'll talk with us. Have a great day, and God bless America.